Greetings, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's operator meeting. My name is Hannah Hickam, and I will be your host for today. It looks like we have about 153 folks on, so we'll go ahead and get our agenda moving. First up is financial assurance rule announcement, and that's Jarrett Ellis.
Hey, good morning. Hannah already said everything that I planned to say in her introduction this morning. That's simply that May 10th, we're going to be having operator meeting where we will dive in more deeply to the financial assurance rules. I know everyone is anxious to understand how those apply to their particular situations, but hopefully more info to come on October 11th. If there are any specific issues you would like to ask prior to that meeting, please let us know so we can be ready to address them in that meeting. If you just go to the operator guidance webpage and click on the what's the label say, Hannah? Submit a question or something of the sort, I believe. So it's under regulation, operator guidance, and then on the right side, click here and complete the request form. If you submit your financial assurance questions there, we will try to ensure that we include those in our list of topics for May 10th. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jarrett.
And Hannah, may I just add, folks, please use that topic request form also for any topics that you feel staff needs to address at these meetings. It might help then, since that's a multi-use form, if it is a financial assurance related question that you want addressed on May 10th, please highlight that in the what the topic is, financial assurance, and then what you're specifically looking for. And that way we can lump those and make sure we get them all covered next month.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Jarrett. And then I've also dropped the direct link in the chat box. So if you just want to click on the direct link and bookmark it, then you'll have easy access in the future. Next up is staffing updates and recent opportunities. Sabrina Trask will kick it off, and then we'll do a bit of a round robin with the rest of the managers. Take it away, Sabrina.
Thanks, Hannah. Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Great. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sabrina Trask, the Planning and Permitting Manager. I have a couple of staffing updates that I wanted to share with you. Doug Andrews, many of you know Doug from the OGLA unit for quite a few years. He was promoted to the senior OGLA position. In that new role, Doug's going to be the primary point of contact for local governments in their concurrent or sequential permitting processes. He'll also be conducting the final reviews of OGDPs prior to the hearing. And then another OGLA that is moving sort of out of the group, vaguely to the side of the group, is Stephen Schwarz. He has taken a brand new position, newly created, called the Hearings Liaison. In that role, Stephen will be the primary point of contact and process subject matter expert for all hearing applications. So OGDPs, variance requests. What he'll be doing is coordinating all of the internal technical reviews of those hearing applications. So you might be working with Stephen, or your attorneys or your legal team might be working with Stephen as he helps coordinate internal staff get through their reviews of your hearing applications. And then along those lines, since Doug and Stephen are both moving elsewhere from their original OGLA positions, we are going to backfill both of their positions. And we do have one additional new OGLA position, sort of OGLA number 8. So we will be filling a total of 3 OGLA positions. That job announcement is in the HR pipeline right now. We're anticipating, fingers crossed, that announcement will be posted this week. I think I will pass the torch off to Dave Andrews for an Orphan Well program update.
Thank you, Sabrina. So changes with the Orphan Well program. Mike Hickey was our supervisor for the whole state until recently. We promoted Shannon Chalette, who was the West region engineer, to our second supervisor. So now we'll have an East Side supervisor and a West Side supervisor. The other change was Curtis Conklin was our reclamation specialist for the West Slope. He is now a project specialist, reporting to me and doing things statewide. So that opens up a few positions. We will be interviewing for an environmental specialist for West Slope pretty soon. And then also we will be posting reclamation positions, one Eastern Plains, one Front Range, and one West Slope pretty soon. And then last item, now that I have moved over full-time for the Orphan Well program, we had an engineering manager selection over the last few weeks. And I'm pleased to announce that Diana Byrne is our new engineering manager. Diana has been a longtime supervisor for the engineers on the Front Range. And I know she's got a presentation today, so I'll let her do a little bit more of an introduction for herself. And that is, unless Diana, you want to say anything right now, I can hand it over to you.
You know what? I did not find her and make her a host yet, so give me just a minute to do that. Diana, you're still DB, right? Hopefully that's right.
I can jump in, Hannah, with my update while you're working to get Diana elevated.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So, hi everyone, Greg Duranlo, Environmental Manager. Thanks for being here today. I do have some updates, recent updates on environmental staff. Recalling that the environmental unit is now the environmental protection specialists and the reclamation team. We have hired a new reclamation specialist on the West Slope out of our rifle office, and that's Anna O'Malley. She comes to us from BLM and others before that. So we're excited to have that capacity growing on the West Slope, and excited to have her with us. For those of you who've been around a while, our longtime environmental protection specialist, formerly in the Raton Basin and then in the DJ Basin, Peter Gontadas, retired recently. So we are obviously that left a hole. Peter had a position that was a staff authority on groundwater investigations. And so we recruited through our internally, and we're excited to have Rick Allison as the backfill position, or backfill for that position. So Rick will be still a regional environmental protection specialist, but will also be serving statewide as a resource on groundwater investigations and the various active projects we have in that capacity. And then we will be backfilling Rick's position here in the immediate future. So that's, I believe, all for environmental.
Great, thank you so much, Greg. Next up, we have Mimi. If you're on the line, I gave you hosting ability, but I know you're on your phone. So if you can unmute yourself, do so. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Yep, hopefully you can hear me. So staffing updates in the hearings section, we recently hired our third hearing officer, Mr. Matt Berman. Matt joined us last week. It was April the 3rd, I believe, that first Monday. And he came to us from private practice. Prior to that, he was a hearing officer with the Department of Revenue. So we're very happy to have Matt as part of the hearings team. He's getting up to speed, and you'll soon be seeing him as your hearing officer on hearing applications.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mimi. And Chris Eisinger is up next. Oh, you know what? I haven't made him a host yet. Just a sec. All right, there you go, Chris. You should be able to unmute. Sorry about that. We're not able to hear you, or at least I'm not able to, but I saw the microphone becoming red, so I assume that you were trying to talk. Okay, I don't see anything happening. Chris, if you can just drop your update into the chat, I'll announce it after Mike goes. Mike, you're on the spot.
Hannah, can you unmute Chris? He's having problems with the mic. See if you can.
I see him as being unmuted. I can mute him and then ask to unmute again. I can try that.
Maybe not. You should just skip it.
Yeah, I see him unmuting, but no. Yeah, Chris, just drop your update into the chat and I'll read it out for everyone. And then Mike, you can go ahead and go.
Sure, thanks, Hannah. We have backfilled the Southwest inspector position. That person will come on board late this month. I'll put the name out once we get that person onboarded. And we have backfilled 2 enforcement officers as well. And they'll be starting in the next 3 weeks. So probably at the next operator meeting, I'll have names and everything for you then. I'd just like to wait until we get them onboarded.
Great. Thank you.
We still have a backfill in the Northwest. We're working on that positioning right now. So maybe in the next couple months, we should have an announcement opening that job up as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And I believe Sabrina had another update. So go ahead, Sabrina.
Yeah, thanks, Hannah. I forgot to mention earlier, with sort of the switching around of some of our OGLA team, we do have a couple of changes to our permitting staff contacts for web forms issues. So the Form 4, if you have any technical issues for permitting related technical issues on the Form 4, please contact Ginger Malashaskas. And if you have any technical OGLA issues on the Form 2B, please reach out to Brian Christopher, and we will get their names updated on our web forms staff contact list on our website. Thanks, Hannah.
Great, thank you, Sabrina. And speaking of that contact list, that was Chris's update. He wanted to mention that with all the staffing updates, a few of the staff contacts for individual forms have changed, and this is the link. He posted it in the chat for the updated contact list. So I'm gonna just click on that real quick and drag it over here. All right, so this is it, everyone. Go ahead and click on that link and then just bookmark that so that you have it handy.
And then I might just add, also some of the staff areas of responsibility have been changing around a little bit too to accommodate different staff and different workloads. So, if you've worked with an individual on a site for a while, that COGCC staff member may have shifted away from that area. So just be mindful of that.
Thank you for that update, Greg. And let's see, next we have the Form 4 variance request, and Mike Leonard, you can take it away.
Thanks, Hannah. This is kind of a public service announcement. Prior to the rule change on January 15th, 2021, we had several Form 4 502B variance requests in the queue. Because of the rule change, we cannot process those. So here by the end of this month, we're going to push those back to draft. That way, any operator that wants to use that information that they put in there to apply for a hearings application or put in a hearings application for a variance in front of the commission, you'll have that information available to you. And there were some that came in after January 15th, variance requests on Form 4s. Those will be denied because they were after the rule change. And that's where we're at. We'll leave those in draft, probably the draft ones, we'll leave them in there, hopefully a couple months, and then we'll probably go in and remove those as well. So they're just not filling up the system. That's what I had for that.
Great, thank you, Mike. Next up, we have OGDP Streamlined Hearing Application, and that is Mimi Larson. Mimi, you can take it away.
Thank you, Hannah. So as many of you know, we have been seeking to improve the OGDP hearing application process over the last several months. And to that end, we've decided to streamline the hearing application process to essentially be a template that operators and their counsel will complete for the actual hearing application. We recognize that so much of the important detail of the OGDP application comes in through the e-form system and is handled through the permitting and OGLA process. And so the information that we really need on the hearing side for an OGDP is pretty standard. And we have put together a template that we're asking all operators and their counsel to use. That template has been distributed to members of the bar that practice in front of the commission. We're also finding a good place to put that template on our website. It hasn't been posted yet, but it will be. So it will be available for everyone to see. And again, the template itself really just walks through the 500 series rules and asks for that specific information that the 500 series requires for all hearing applications. And then of course includes some specific information that we need for OGDPs. We're asking that folks start using that template as soon as possible, but we're not going to reject an application immediately if it still comes in not using that template. However, starting on the first part of May, we will require that all OGDP hearing applications come in on that template. So we'll be sending reminders out, and again, we'll get the template itself posted on our website so folks can take a look at it there. That's all I have.
Great, thank you, Mimi. And just a reminder to everybody, if you have any questions that pop up while these presentations are being made, you can just chat in those questions at the moment that you think of them, and we will make sure to answer them at the end. Next up is Bradenhead information, and that is Diana Byrne. I will pull that up and we can get started.
Good morning. Yes, please.
I can hear you.
Alrighty. Yes, there's another meeting. Anyway, good morning, folks. So this is a reminder with the wellbore integrity rules. There's a Bradenhead testing requirement. So we sent out quite a few notices reminding of the requirements. So this is a quick update and review. So to remind folks what the requirements are and what the expectations are. Next slide, please. So it's through 419, and that talks about the monitoring, the testing, and that the well needs to be configured for testing and monitoring. So our field staff, when they go out there and they don't see access to the Bradenhead, are going to cite that on the field inspection report and expect that the ability to test that Bradenhead is there. It's an annual testing requirement, and it's reported to the state with either a Form 17 or via a subscription upload for folks that have a lot of wells to report. And then there's monthly monitoring requirements. So those records are retained by the operator, but we can request those if we see a need to do that. And I was going to cycle back to the configured for testing and monitoring that want to respond to the field inspection report with an answer about the ability to monitor and test that well. So next slide, please. So again, the tests are reported on a Form 17, which is available through web forms. The rule requires that we get a wellbore diagram with that submission, but we don't need one every time, especially now that it's annual. So you can either attach it to that Form 17, or you can cite that we already have the current wellbore configuration in a previously submitted wellbore diagram in the well file, and you could just put the document number of that in the Form 17 comment box. Next one, please. And then there's a reminder, and sorry, this is a screenshot from my internal web page for web forms, but operators within their own operator number, up at the top in the upper right-hand corner, there's a small little tool list. And one of the tools that is now in there is for Bradenhead tests. So it's submitted, there's a submitted all, and outstanding. So that you can run anytime during the course of the year to see where you stand and if there's any outstanding or which ones have been submitted. So that's really helpful to keep abreast and assure that the requirements are met for whichever calendar year. Next one, please. On our website, we've got 3 sets of documents that should help with Bradenhead testing, and the guidance that was created in response to rulemaking has been updated. The new one should hit the website today. So if there's any questions with those things, please let us know. But these are available on the website to help with any questions about BrainNet testing and or the reporting requirements. Next one, please. That's it. If there's questions, I guess we're chatting them in. So thank you.
Thank you, Diana. And yeah, do please chat your next in at the end. Well, sorry, chat your questions in now and we will answer them at the end. Next up, we've got update on 909J, and that will be Greg Geronlo.
Thank you, Hannah. Trying to find my notes here. Don't have a presentation. I just have some notes. So Hannah, I'll just run through the next two topics and also mention something about 915B. So first, Rule 909J. This rule requires sampling of produced water that is going to a pit beginning January 15th, 2021. And the analytical data is due to the COGCC no later than July 15th, 2022. So this is a, excuse me, this is a rule that had an 18-month compliance window built into the rules, because we recognize that it takes some time to organize the sample and get the sample collected, get it analyzed, look at the analytical results, and then prepare to submit them. The data will be submitted on a Form 43, and the rule does require a sample from each well that is contributing produced water to a pit for recycle, reuse, disposal by evaporation or infiltration. And so the rule specifies the parameters that are required for that. I've had recent conversations with folks at CDPHE. They do recommend sampling for methanol as well. It's not on our required list. And as folks may be aware, methanol, is sometimes reported as a lab contaminant. However, it's also used in some of the process piping in oil and gas. So it is somewhat worthwhile to include that in your analyte list, though there is no regulatory requirement on our side to do so. We encourage that. And then, so where are we now with Rule 909J compliance? Again, as I mentioned, it's an 18-month compliance window. Samples, operators would be responsible for starting to sample anytime after January 15th, 2021. We've received 173 Form 43s to date. If you go into our COGCC records, you'll find that there are about 3,400 active pits in Colorado. So assuming sort of a 1-to-1 well to pit ratio, we've got about 5% of the data that we expect to receive. So if you are an operator with active pits, please be aware that we do need to, we expect to start seeing Form 43s coming in. Ideally, those aren't all going to come in on July 14th. But obviously that's the last day that they are due. So this is just a reminder that you still have time to get out and get those samples collected, analyzed, reviewed, and submitted timely. So thanks for that. Moving on to the next question, or the next topic is the HPH rulemaking, high priority habitat rulemaking. So I just wanted to give everyone here an update if they weren't paying attention to that. The commission adopted the new maps at their hearing last week on April 6th, 2022. Based on the filing schedule with the Secretary of State's office, et cetera, we believe that those maps will be effective right around the end of May. So the layers, those map layers are currently available on the COGCC GIS online interactive map, and they're available for download right now. So I would certainly encourage you to incorporate those map layers into your planning, though they are not regulatory requirements until the effective date, which again, we believe to be right around the end of May. On that note, I'd like to thank Dr. Karen Voltura at CPW, as well as her team, the other 3 regional energy liaisons, all the subject matter experts at CPW, and then all of the stakeholders that were involved in that process. And some of those stakeholders, I've seen their names here. So thanks for your participation in that. And we're excited to move forward with those maps. And then lastly, and this isn't on the agenda, I just wanted to make an announcement that the Rule 915B guidance, we published it earlier this year. 915B allows for the closure of a spill or remediation site or a facility closure, allows for the closure of that site with the soil suitability parameters for reclamation in excess of the limits in Table 915.1, provided a reclamation plan, provided the impacts are delineated and a reclamation plan is submitted and approved via Form 4. So we made some updates to that guidance just to provide additional clarity. And so that new guidance is available for folks. And if you have questions about that, Denise was gonna kind of walk through that. Denise Arthur, our reclamation supervisor, was gonna walk through that today. She has other commitments. And so if you do have questions about that, please send them in email to either me or Denise or both of us, and we can either address them next month or address them individually. So that's all I have, Hannah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Greg. And next up is the Q&A. First, I'm just going to read this from Diana in case some folks are not able to look at the chat. She just wanted to say that recently sent Bradenhead test reminders have an April 30th, 2022 due date for responding and completing the request. Those wells that cannot be tested require a variance. And then on to the first question. On the Bradenhead testing, if you have a wellbore diagram on the COGCC website, do you need to submit another one?
You do not if it's the current configuration of that wellbore. So we would ask that you please cite the document number on the website, and you can do that in the comments in either the bulk upload or the Form 17.
Thank you, Diana. The next question is, if we submit our annual test via bulk upload, are they required to have wellbore diagrams as well? If so, how would you like those submitted?
So the rule doesn't make a distinction between the requirement via regular Form 17 or bulk upload. So we're currently talking about potentially getting a bulk wellbore diagram upload tool also. But if that is still, it's not available currently. So you can do it via Sundry. You could do it with a 5A if for some reason you're having to do a 5A. You can do it with almost any subsequent submission. So a 5, 5A, or a 4. For this first year, we're gonna hold back a little bit and try and rein that in the coming years. So we're just hoping that people get in the habit of looking for that complete current wellbore diagram, and if it's not there, providing it. But we're looking at tools beyond a standard web form.
Thank you, Diana. I'm going to give folks a little bit more time to put in more questions. And in the meanwhile, I lost a part of my PowerPoint, so I'm going to have to start that over. Sorry about that, guys.
I'll just jump in the silence once more and just remind folks, you know, if there are things that staff is not addressing that you think really need to be addressed in a training capacity in these meetings, please do use the form that we talked about earlier. And again, if you have specific issues with financial assurance rules and what you want to see covered in that, please highlight that your suggestion is for the financial assurance rules.
Thanks, Greg. And yes, that link is in the chat. It's one of the very first things that I put in the chat. And then it's also in the invite for this meeting that I sent out yesterday. I believe I highlighted it in all yellow. So hopefully that will get enough attention. And that is both for meeting topics in the future and financial assurance rules questions. And speaking of that email that I send, if you would like to get on that email list, my email is listed right down here. Make sure you get that last name right. Otherwise, I will not get that email. But I will add you to the operator email list. And I think there are no more questions. Let me just scroll back down. Yeah, no more questions. So we'll go ahead and end it. The next operator meeting is, oh man, I'm sorry, this is wrong. It's May 10th. And we're going to be going over the financial assurance rules. And otherwise, I hope everybody has a great day. Thanks for joining us and take care. Bye.
Thanks, Anna. Thanks, everyone.